The pro-life movement is on a general course to not end abortion completely, to not do away with it, to not abolish it, to end it, to criminalize it. They are seeking to incrementally work their way down, but they're not pursuing ending abortion and just outright criminalizing it. So we are on today with Senator Joseph Silk, who has presented SB 13 in Oklahoma right now, and we need to find out how to help him. So Senator Silk, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thanks. How you guys doing?
Very, very, very good. More importantly, how are you doing right now? What's happening in Oklahoma?
Well, we are just continuing the fight. Senate Bill 13, as you've described, would actually call for the abolition of abortion in Oklahoma. Real quickly, it just defines life beginning at the moment of fertilization and offers that life equal protections, just like any other life has. And we've been fighting it in the Senate. They have now confirmed as of yesterday that the Health and Human Services Committee chairman will not hear the bill. I talked to him. He did not give me any specific reasons. They're just trying to kill that bill. The Catholic Archdiocese has came out against the bill, and then just today, the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma has released a statement and a statewide letter saying that they also oppose the bill.
What? This is absolutely incredible, Senator Silk. We have organizations that profess to be pro-life and believe that life begins at conception. They profess to have a Christian worldview, and they are not pursuing the end of abortion. Senator Silk, why?
They value the court's opinion over this essentially natural law and the law of God. And that's because so one of the things that Senate Bill 13 does is it does offer nullification rights to the legislature and the executive branch if the court throws out Senate Bill 13 as unconstitutional, which it is constitutional because it protects life. It offers the right for the executive branch and the legislature to essentially say, thank you for your opinion, Supreme Court. Despite what you say, we are going to protect life. A lot of these pro-life organizations and church institutions can't get over that fact. And that's really the way that our republic is supposed to work. The courts were never allowed to just rule whatever they wanted and have the same have the last word. But that's a lie that they've bought into. The other main thing that they're held up on this bill, Senate Bill 13 repeals every single piece of pro-life legislation that has been put on the books over the past 43 years. They're very offended by that, but what they don't understand, and I've spoken to them, I've spoken to the pro-life groups and the churches and the statewide church organizations. I said, you do realize that if Roe v. Wade were overturned today, abortion would still be legal in Oklahoma because you have all this pro-life regulation and legislation on the books. So we have to get rid of it, and they just can't get over the fact that we're actually abolishing abortion and not playing the regulation game.
So this is important for all of our listeners right now around the world. I need you, if you've checked out for a minute here, I need you to come back and listen to something very, very critical. This is critical, and it comes as a surprise to many people who, as Christians, we all say, well, we're pro-life. That's our team, right? We're the pro-life team. You need to understand this. This is so critical. It is an end game kind of thing. Everything is hanging on this. We say that Roe v. Wade, needs to be overturned. No, it doesn't. That's not how our country works. Of course, it's a bootleg court opinion. It's fallacious from the 70s. It goes against what we know about biological science. Of course, we know about the law of God, the word of God, most importantly. But Roe v. Wade is not a law. And our country's founding documents state explicitly who creates law in our country. And it's not the Supreme Court. Congress makes laws. So what Senator Silk is saying here, if you didn't catch it, is that the states have the right, according to our governing documents, to be able to govern themselves and to oppose unlawful decrees like what we have in Roe v. Wade. We do not have to yield to an unrighteous, unlawful decree and decision of a court in the 1970s. The states have the right to uphold the law. And when you think about what's happening in the states with these pro-life organizations, I need you to hear me on this because this is critical. And it's a shock when you find out. If Roe v. Wade is overturned tomorrow, the states that have these pro-life regulations are still going to have abortion in those states. Why? Because the pro-life legislation, because the incremental pro-life legislations that actually allow for abortion at a certain level, those become state law, and they hang there. So when Roe falls, the state goes, well, our books say that you can have an abortion at 16 weeks, at 18 weeks, at 20 weeks. And interestingly, who wrote that legislation? Who approved it? The pro-lifers. The pro-lifers. Did you hear that? I hope that peels back the curtains and the eyelids for a moment to see, oh my goodness, this has been pursued wrongly. And wouldn't you know it, if we actually started fighting against abortion on a basis that was a faulty basis to begin with, that the Supreme Court gets to create law, and therefore we have to sort of fight against that, then of course all of our methodologies are going to be wrong because it's on the wrong foundation. The states have the right to oppose this higher court's opinion when that opinion itself is unrighteous or unjust. You know, kind of like in a long time ago, there was a situation where, black people were allowed to be enslaved, right? Didn't the states have the right to oppose such an idea at that point? Or how about today when we have like Colorado, California, Washington, Arizona, all these states saying, no, we'll ignore federal drug laws because we're the sovereign state of Colorado. We're the sovereign state of Arizona. And our people's medical needs, that's what we're going to focus on. Their needs, not what this federal drug law has. So we're going to oppose this higher thing here because of our people here. Now, what's interesting here is that we do it with marijuana. We do it with sanctuary cities for undocumented immigrants. But interestingly, we don't seem to have the courage to do it with the preborn children that are being murdered in our midst. Senator Silk, how can we help you right now? I was just with you last week. We got some stuff out there was seen by I guess hundreds of thousands of people, I suppose. And I know that a lot of emails went to Senator Smalley asking him to hear immediately SB 13. We're in a new place now. So what can we do to help you?
So there's two things today, because as of today, like I said, the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma came out in opposition to the bill, which has literally fractured the Baptist churches in our state. I have a list of Baptist pastors that I have to call back because they're like, what is our state convention doing? So I would say to all the listeners, whether, because this is a worldwide issue here, it's just Oklahoma's at the front lines, and so everybody needs to be engaged here. Basically, just Google Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma. Get the executive leadership contact information, email them, call them, get on their Facebook page. Do everything you can to let them know that the world is watching what the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma just did. And we do not approve because we want to protect life. The other thing is our group, our Boots on the Ground group here in Oklahoma, is called Free the States. You can see them on freethestates.com. They've done a lot of work with you guys in the past. And so get on and support them and encourage them. And we're going to keep pushing it.
Okay, thank you, Senator Silk. So Baptist General Convention, Oklahoma. Right now we have 150 people watching live, and many more are going to see this. Let me just encourage everybody who was watching live or you're watching this later on today, to the thousands of people that are going to be on here and watching this, let me encourage you right now to partner with us right now with Senator Silk to actually put hands to all that we say constantly, right? It's an evil, it's an atrocity, it's murder. We need to stand up for these children. Let me ask you to not be about mere profession, but actually put some hands right now to this issue. And right now, do what Senator Silk said. Go to Google, look up Baptist General Convention, Oklahoma, look up the leadership, and you start sending emails, and then get 15 of your closest Christian friends. Get them in on this with you and extend this and start messaging. And honestly, be respectful, of course, but say, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you not support Senator Silk in this bill that would actually do what we always say is what needs to be done? How dare you not support? How dare you not protect? We need you to actually be faithful with your commitments. And so that's important. These are moments, everyone, where we see internal contradictions. We see internal tension and contradictions that we have to actually start doing something about. Be courageous, brothers and sisters. Let me just be very frank with you here, and I want to let you guys talk to Senator Silk, so think about what you want to maybe ask here. It may be that we've held these children in our arms. It may be that. It may be that we've actually held children who were literally seconds away from being dismembered in our arms, or I've been preaching over a pulpit with little girls running around my church that were about to be slaughtered, and because of the gospel proclamation, that didn't happen. The mom turned away. It may be because I've kissed and hugged these little kids that we are so passionate about that. But let me encourage you. Let me encourage you to enter into this with us, because it's worth your whole life. When I held my first baby in my arms that was saved from death in an abortion mill, Carmelo, it changed me. It changed me forever, and it ought to change you as well, to consider that there are thousands of children alive today, because of this work of bringing the gospel into conflict with abortion, being consistent Christians and actually doing what we say we believe and engaging in this. I want to encourage you to right now participate. We need you. I'm not asking you to be get involved in petty partisan political issues. I'm not asking you to put signs in your yard for a particular figure. I'm asking you to partner on principle, on what is righteous and just. You need to pray for Senator Silk. Pray for this hero. Pray for this man. Pray for this brother, this Christian who is standing up for what is right, and he is doing what is glorifying to God and what is right for these children. He's a hero. You need to support him. He's the kind of man that I trust with all my heart is going down in the history books. This will be part of history, and we need your help. This is where you get to be a part of it, brothers and sisters. Okay.
So I actually, I've received this question multiple times this week, and excuse me, I will tell you what my response was, but I was hoping you can give an official response as the sponsor of the bill. So the question I keep hearing is, well, is there an exception for, the life of the mother if there's, you have to choose one or the other, and my response is always, well, that's a false narrative that's put forth by the pro-choice movement. The answer is that you try to save both lives. But as far as officially from how it's worded in the bill, could you give an official response to that?
Yeah, so it's not only a false narrative that's put out by the pro-choice movement. It's actually a false narrative that our churches and our pro-life movement is putting out. Because essentially, when it comes to, in case of the life of the mother, that exemption, that doesn't exist.
Right.
So whenever they carve out that exception, they're talking about tubal pregnancies and ectopic pregnancies.
Right.
And since 1917, they've been able to transfer. They've had successful transfer processes where they transfer that child to the uterus where it needs to go. So there's a huge line of medical checklists that they need to do and to save and to value both of the mother and the child's life. Unfortunately, default practice is if you're diagnosed with a tubal or ectopic pregnancy, they just go in and kill it.
Right.
But specifically to Senate Bill 13. Senate Bill 13, all we did is we took some other medical terminology that essentially charges the doctor and mandates that they exhaust all life-saving possibilities for both mother and child. That's what they have to do.
Right.
And whatever those medical procedures are, our medical community has got to start valuing both mother and child's lives equally.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. I mean, that question always hits home with me personally. Reason being, my grandparents were missionaries in the jungle in Africa, and my mom was actually an ectopic pregnancy, and God miraculously moved her into the right position, and she was born healthy. And so when I hear someone say, we've known women that they had that happen, and the doctor said, well, you have no choice, you have to abort the baby, and they give her a pill, and it was like, no, that's not true. So. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I figured that was the case. I just didn't know what the language and stuff was in the bill. So thank you for that, Senator Silk.
Yep. Joy?
I was just going to ask you to so we just asked people to partner with us, partner with you, and make contact with people that aren't hearing this. But maybe if you just want to explain the benefit of a person, a legislator, or whoever receiving a flood of support to hear a bill like this.
No, it definitely gets attention. So with Senate Bill 13, and I know I did, some interviews with Jeff when he came here. That got attention. It got Senator Smalley's attention. Unfortunately, we had some higher level leadership that came in, and essentially, I think they told him, we're not going to hear this. And so the same thing with not only legislators, when they hear the people, massive amounts of people saying the same thing, such in this case, we have got to stop abortion, and they hear how different that narrative is than the pro-life. It really is very, very impactful to legislators. But now here in Oklahoma, now we have to change. Now we have to get the church on board, because in Oklahoma, Bible Belt area, the Southern Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma holds a lot of weight. And the same thing with that leadership. If we now start taking this message and saying, listen, BGCO, you guys have got to make just a stance that your church convention believes that abortion should be ended immediately. Their leadership needs to hear that. And when they adopt that gospel truth about life beginning at conception and the state government actually upholding justice, they're going to be they're going to be more powerful and more effective to actually get into the churches and lobby the legislature, and it'll be it's a constant education cycle. But the massive amounts of emails and phone calls that both the legislature, the Senate can receive, but also the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma leadership, it's very, very impactful.
Yes. Senator Silk, how much time do we have left in terms of to keep working through this? I know I saw some billboards go up in Oklahoma, which I was very encouraged to see, that can sort of put a name and a face to what is holding all this back for Oklahomans and Christians to know, like, okay, where do we need to direct our responses and our commentary? I thought that was a very effective strategy. But how much time do we have left?
So the bill to work through the regular legislative process, we've got until next Thursday. So essentially a week to give that bill a hearing. So that's why it's so important for everybody to continue to stay engaged, even though the chairman has said, I'm probably not going to hear that this year. There's nothing that makes it dead. I mean, it's still alive. It's still well. So we need to continue the pressure on the Senate leadership, Oklahoma Senate leadership. You can find all their contact information on oksenate.gov. But then during that week, if we can keep the pressure on the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma and see if we can continue to gain support from them and pressure them, we've got a week. However, that does not mean, so if we miss the deadline at any time throughout the legislative session, so until, the end of May, Senate leadership can bring a bill, and basically they don't have deadline requirements, they don't have committee requirements. They can bring a bill directly to the Senate floor for a vote. So we'll have to continue to engage them and keep pressure on them until the end of May. But then, even if it didn't get heard in Oklahoma, Senate Bill 13 will stay alive and well. It'll still stay Senate Bill 13 until next year's session. So if it doesn't get a hearing this year, we're going to work throughout the year to continue to educate and push and hopefully grow the movement even more. So when we go in the next year, we still have Senate Bill 13, and we'll pound it next year as well.
I was just going to say, I actually we saw kind of how this whole process works yesterday here in Arizona, and I hadn't really observed this, so it's a bit of a lesson for me. So for those of you that are listening and wonder how this works, so there was the Democratic side here in Arizona tried to get a bill read that would allow botched abortion babies to sit there and die, basically. That was the bill that they were trying to put forth. Thankfully, it got squashed 8-2 in the Judiciary Committee. But when I was watching this process, just how silly some of this stuff is sometimes. The two people that said we should have a hearing on this, they didn't even necessarily agree with the bill. They just said, out of respect to the sponsor, we should at least listen to it. And so but that's how this whole process works, So everybody else was like, no, we're not even going to listen to this bill. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Why would you even present this? But then stuff still can get heard just because of that, just because of politics is what it is. And I know, Senator Silk, you probably know better than we do how that stuff works, but I know it's very eye-opening for me yesterday, kind of observing that process.
Absolutely. All right, Senator Silk, we are in this with you. We are prayerful for you, and we are looking forward to just continuing to support you and do what's necessary to uphold justice for these children in Oklahoma. And we're grateful for your time today. Thank you. Thanks for coming on today.
Well, hey, yep, I'll stay in touch. We'll see y'all.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you.
Thanks so much.